Last night, President Trump appeared to walk back his threat to shut down the southern border.
And I really wanted to close it. But now Mexico's saying, no, 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 first time in decades. We will not let anybody get through. And they've apprehended over 1,000 people today at the southern border, their southern border. And they're bringing them back into the country. I said, why the hell didn't somebody do that in the first place? But they don't want the border closed. And you know who else doesn't want the border closed? The Democrats. They don't want the border closed.
But this morning, President Trump tweeted, Congress must get together and immediately eliminate the loopholes at the border. If no action, border or large sections of border will close. This is a national emergency. Let's bring in Democratic Congressman Vicente Gonzalez. He represents Texas's 15th congressional district, which includes a section of the U.S. Mexico border. Congressman, thanks so much for being with us.
Absolutely. Good to be here.
How would your district be impacted by a decision to close the southern border?
Well, it would have a tragic economic impact, not only for our district, for our entire state of Texas and for the country. 60% of all imported produce comes through one of the bridges in my district. Mexico is our third largest trading partner. That goes both ways. They buy a lot of American goods. They buy a lot of Texas goods. It would be a very foolish decision if the president did dare shut the border.
Well, we mentioned that tweet from the president calling for Congress to, quote, get together and immediately eliminate the loopholes at the border. What do you see as some of the immediate steps you and your colleagues can take to address this and avoid a border shutdown?
Well, I do believe that we have an issue at the border of people claiming asylum that don't qualify. We cannot get away from that. I don't think we should as a party, as Americans. I think, I personally believe that maybe people should be asking for asylum in their home country at embassies or consulates. There's folks even within my party that may not agree with that, but the fact is 80 or 90% of people who claim asylum do not qualify. So I think we should have faster hearings. I don't think it should take 2 years to get a hearing. I think we should have hearings within 30 days right there at the border when they show up. And if they qualify, they stay. And if they don't, we send them home in a family unit in a humane American way, the way we always have.
There's such a backlog now, though. I mean, do you think logistically that is a realistic possibility?
Well, we need to start at some point, whether there's a backlog or not. We need to begin a better process at some point. This was a rule that was implemented by the Republicans back in '06, and we're dealing with it today. And you know, the word has gotten out in Central America that if you come and you give us a laundry list of things to say at the border, that you get in and you get a notice to appear that could take years before you're called for your hearing. And I believe that's unacceptable. I'm not for open borders, and Democrats are not for open borders. We believe that we need a just immigration system. We certainly need immigration reform. We need a guest worker program. We need workers in this country. I think this should not be a partisan issue. And when I hear the president say, you know, Democrats want to open borders, or we want everybody to just come in, you know, unlawfully, that's so not true, particularly members who live on the border, such as myself.
So President Trump also tweeted the following from the vice president of the National Border Patrol Council, the union representing Border Patrol agents. It says, quote, I haven't seen any Democrats down here at the border working with us or asking to speak to any of us. They have an open invitation. We are getting overrun. Our facilities are over capacity. We are at an emergency crisis.
That's not true.
So,
that's absolutely not true.
So let me ask you, have you spoken with any Border Patrol agents? And what did they say? And has the White House reached out to you?
I was with the Border Patrol chief just last week in a bipartisan meeting with Congressman French Hill from Arkansas, who visited my district. We went to detention centers. We went to processing centers. We went to the bridge. We talked to asylum seekers. We had meetings with CBP. We had meetings with the Border Patrol. That is just absolutely false and just political rhetoric that people like to use for their own, you know, satisfaction or for their own political agenda. But that is far from realistic. I think that the United States of America should be ready to process as many people as ever show up to our border. We should not be in a situation that we are now. In fact, if you can't plan for a mass exodus to come to our border one day, then you should be fired, because that's something that we hope that never happens, but we should be prepared if it were to happen.
So you don't see this as an emergency crisis situation?
It's not an emergency crisis situation. It's a situation that needs to be addressed. It's a situation that the United States of America has a capability to address, and we should do it. But furthermore, to get to the root of the problem, we should be going to the 3 Central American countries, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras, and investing on the ground to bring security to those places.
So let me ask you about that, though, Congressman. I'm sorry to interrupt, because the White House has decided to cut aid.
Which is ignorant. They're going to get the opposite result.
I mean, the White House has said that those countries were not doing enough to stop the flow of people into the U.S. What's your response to that?
Okay, so my response is exactly this. The president of Guatemala, President Morales, has told me that he would allow American troops to come to his northern border, that he would allow American Border Patrol to be embedded in his northern border. That would stop the vast number of this migration. I've communicated this to the White House. I have not seen any action yet. Just that move alone, I know the president likes to send troops down to our border periodically just for show or political purposes. Why don't we send some to the Guatemala's northern border, and that will really be impactful and will slow down migration dramatically. We should also continue to engage the government of Mexico to do their part and secure their southern border.
So, Congressman, some people listening might say, why devote American resources, like American personnel, though, to foreign countries to help them deal with what should be their own internal situation that they should be capable of handling?
Well, the 3 Central American countries that I mentioned are very poor countries and lack resources. And at the end of the day, it impacts us, the United States of America, the greatest nation on earth. We have the resources. We should share them. We should share intelligence. We should share personnel. And really, at the end of the day, it's a drop in the bucket to what it costs us once they arrive at our front door.
Conversation to be continued. Congressman Vicente Gonzalez. Congressman, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.